What a 1-2 punch that we have to start the Imsa season. After a very competitive elbows out Rolex 24, we head to another race that has seen its fair share of elbows out moments in recent years, the 12 Hours of Sebring. From late race sends going for the win, to battles that come down to the final minutes of the race, Sebring certainly has a way of producing great finishes. But it's not just the great finishes to watch out for this year at Sebring. We'll also see a brand new GTP entry on track, and see if a Rolex rivalry continues in the GTD Pro class. That and more as it's time to preview the 12 Hours of Sebring. The 12 Hours of Sebring is the second race on the Imsa calendar and also the second longest race of the season. Taking place at Sebring International Raceway in Florida, the track is often referred to as the birthplace of American endurance racing. It's North America's oldest permanent road racing facility, established back in 1950. The 3.74 mile long circuit is on what was originally Hendricks Field, a United States Army Air Force's base. That served during World War II as heavy bomber training school for B-17 Flying Fortress and B-24 Liberator pilots. Now, this former airfield turned racetrack is nestled in the orange groves and cattle ranches of Central Florida. But Sebring International Raceway has hosted the legendary 12-hour endurance classic since 1952 and is now part of the prestigious Imsa WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Sebring was also the site of the very first FIA World Championship sports car race in 1953, and in 2012 hosted the inaugural race for the FIA World Endurance Championship, who would actually return for a few years to run one day before this Imsa 12 Hours of Sebring race to create a Super Sebring weekend. Now, Super Sebring is no more, but one thing that has always remained the same is the track surface. And that track surface is perhaps the most infamous aspect of this track. The front straight features the original concrete poured in 1941 for the Hendricks Field military base, and as you navigate around the track, you'll find other portions of concrete as well as asphalt. The various different surfaces around the track have become very rough and bumpy over the years, which gives Sebring the reputation as one of the toughest tracks in the world and a true test for any manufacturer looking to test their car's durability and reliability. The track has seen some various small configuration changes in recent years, with the most recent ones being completed in 1997 with slight track widening in some areas to help make it a bit safer. But largely, this track is very similar to its original configuration way back in the day. Now, there are going to be some great storylines to follow along with this weekend, but perhaps none are bigger than the debut of a new car to Imsa, and that's the Aston Martin Valkyrie. The Valkyrie and its V12 engine made its worldwide debut at the WEC season opener in Qatar a few weeks ago, but this round at Sebring will be its very first stateside. Driving the number 23 Heart of Racing Valkyrie will be the longtime Heart of Racing drivers Roman DeAngelis, Ross Gunn, and Marco Sorensen. So it's not like any of these guys are strangers to winning in Imsa. Of course though, with a new car debuting at the roughest track on the calendar, it's important to have realistic expectations. Let's face it, the Heart of Racing and this Valkyrie are unlikely to have the same strong pace as many of their other GTP counterparts right out of the gate, much like the SC63 was last year. But a run like the SC63 had last year, where they completed all the laps, they finished on the lead lap, would be a huge win for Aston Martin, and I'm sure if that happened, they would be leaving Sebring very, very happy. It's not just the Valkyrie that you want to watch for this weekend, though. How will the GTD Pro battles develop after the fireworks that we saw in Daytona? Can BMW and their M Hybrid V8 back up the strong pace that they had at the Rolex? I get into all that and more in a recent episode that I did, but I'm also sending a bonus thing to watch for in the S's email newsletter. You can subscribe to that by clicking the link in the show notes or by heading to offinthes's.com. Now, it's not just the WeatherTech Championship that are going to be featured at Sebring this weekend. There are a slew of support series to watch. We're going to see the season debut for the Mustang Challenge, which surprisingly will only feature 21 entries this weekend. That's down quite a fair bit from where they were last year. The Porsche Carrera Cup of North America is also back though, and they'll have 32 cars on the grid. And the other series that's making their season debut are the Lamborghini Super Trofeo. They're going to have 36 cars spread across those 4 classes. Of course, we're also going to have the Michelin Pilot Challenge back. That's for a 2-hour race and is going to feature a healthy 40-car grid. 25 cars will be featured in the GS class, and 15 will be featured in the TCR class. Take a look at the weather now, and as always, I turn to the trusty X account of Racecast Weather. Here they show nice sunny conditions pretty well all weekend long. Temperatures ranging from the mid-80s up to 90 degrees for Saturday, which is 29 up to 32 degrees Celsius. But overall, looks to be some pretty good conditions here. Let's take a look at the BOP as well, and starting off with the GTP class, there are quite a few changes. The Acura gains 7 kilograms of weight, loses 22 kilowatts of maximum power, and also gains just a slight stint energy increase. BMW keeps the same weight but loses 8 kilowatts of maximum power while losing 10 millijoules of stint energy. Cadillac is fairly unchanged compared to some of the other ones. They do gain 5 kilograms of weight, but they also gain 6 kilowatts of maximum power and also 3 megajoules of stint energy. Lamborghini, meanwhile, only gain 2 kilograms of weight, have no power change, and do see a stint energy decrease of 12 megajoules. Finally, there's Porsche with 16 kilograms of added weight from the Rolex 24, 11 kilowatts less of maximum power, an additional 10 megajoules of maximum stint energy. And it's worth mentioning, I haven't mentioned the Aston Martin here. It is their first race in Imsa, so we'll see how their BOP shakes out for them. Speaking of Aston Martin, they are the first ones to talk about in the GTD classes. They're 5 kilograms heavier. They have a slight increase of power, but they do have significantly more fuel capacity or maximum stint energy at 18 megajoules more. BMW's 19 kilograms lighter, also featuring a loss of power and a reduction in maximum stint energy. Corvette's an interesting one here. They've put on 20 kilograms of weight. They do have a 2.5% increase of power and also 25 megajoules of additional stint energy. Ferrari are 23 kilograms heavier, feature a slight power uptick as well, and feature 42 additional megajoules of stint energy. Ford kind of seems like they're the baseline in this. They're only 4 kilograms lighter. They do feature a slight power decrease and virtually the same fuel capacity they had at the Rolex. Lamborghini sees a decrease of 18 kilograms of weight, also a reduction in power of 3.4%. That is pretty significant, and also 12 additional megajoules of stint energy. The Lexus sees the biggest weight increase, and they have an interesting one across the board. 30 kilograms of additional weight, 7.2% more power than they had at the Rolex, and 68 additional megajoules of maximum stint energy. Those are some big changes. Meanwhile, Mercedes keeps the same weight. They do see an 8.1% reduction in power, but also feature 14 additional megajoules of stint energy. And then there's Porsche. They're 8 kilograms lighter, see a 2.3% increase in their power, but see a reduction of maximum stint energy of 6 megajoules. This year, for the 73rd edition of this race, we will see 56 cars take to the track, which is actually a reduction of 2 cars from last year. They'll be spread across 4 classes, with GTP featuring 13 entries. That's 2 more than last year, a class record, and of course sees the debut of the Aston Martin Valkyrie. There's also a couple of small driver updates here as Brendan Hartley replaces Alex Lynn in the number 40 Cadillac, and the number 5 JDC Miller Motorsports 963 is still yet to confirm their 3rd driver for this race. We also have the LMP2 class, which will feature 12 entries, a reduction of 1 from last year, but notably it does see Kaku Ota, who competed in the GTP with Meyershank Racing at the Rolex 24, join Era Motorsports for the race. GTD Pro will see 11 entries, a reduction of 1 from last year, while GTD sees 20 entries, a reduction of 2 cars from last year. Editor Stu here, and I also just wanted to mention a few of the special liveries that we have going on this weekend at Sebring. Starting off with the GTP class, you're going to see the BMW in their M Hybrid V8 sporting a livery celebrating 50 years of BMW North America. And on that livery, it highlights some key moments of BMW Sebring history. Just a really cool livery. Meyershank Racing and their 2 Acuras are both going to have updated liveries. The number 60 has a lot more blue on it, or a lot more light blue, than it previously did with that Ask Roy sponsorship. Meanwhile, the number 93 car is covered in red. Not a ton different with the 93, but still a slightly different look. And then you also get into some of the special Motul liveries for the weekend. So the number 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac of Action Express Racing, they're going to have some blue added to that livery for Mobile 1. Of course, it is the Mobile 1 12 Hours of Sebring after all. And then carrying through those Mobile 1 partnerships, you see Pratt Miller Motorsports with a drastically different look. They're not yellow for this race. It will feature a blue and white Corvettes and some very sleek looking rides there. And then rounding things out, you do have the Lexus also sporting a Mobile 1 sort of inspired part of their livery. It's not the gold livery that we saw last year, but you can still see the big Mobile 1, I believe it's a Pegasus, across the rear of that Lexus. 333 laps were turned by the victorious number 40 Wayne Taylor Racing Acura of Jordan Taylor, Louis Delatraz, and Colton Herta in 2024. The other 2024 class winners were in LMP2, the number 18 Era Motorsports entry. On the GTD Pro side, it was the number 14 Vassar Sullivan Lexus. And finally, in GTD, it was the number 57 Windward Racing Mercedes. Now, Sebring is a fairly quick track with lap times ranging from the mid-140s for the GTP entries all the way up to about the 2-minute mark for the GTD classes. There are also some solid passing opportunities on this track, most notably into Turn 3, Turn 7, and Turn 10, as well as down the long Ullman Straight, which leads into the extremely bumpy Turn 17, which is also referred to as Sunset. In a race this long at a track this rough, staying on track is going to be a key if you want to be in the running at the end of this, as equipment failures and those iconic Sebring bumps will eat a car up and spit it back out if you're not careful. After all, it's often said that if your car can survive the 12 hours of Sebring, then it can survive any 24-hour race that you want to throw at it. While officially flat, the 3.74 mile track produces up to 18 feet of vertical wheel travel per lap as the front tires and wheels rebound off of those bumps. In addition to the bumps, another big challenge of Sebring is the darkness. Unlike the stadium lighting that we had at Daytona, Sebring has no such thing. There are no lights around this track, with the exception of the front straightaway. As for my picks this weekend, well, in GTP, I'm looking at Cadillac. Sebring has always been a style of track that the Cadillacs have been strong at, and I like the Cadillacs to run well here once again. I'm going to go with that number 40 entry, last year's winners as well, to go back-to-back and pick up the win in GTP. LMP2 is always a difficult one, but give me the number 74 Riley to pick up a big breakthrough win in LMP2. As for GTD Pro, well, racing has a funny way of always making sure that new rivals are right close together in the following race, so with that in mind, I think that BMW and Corvette are going to have a pretty good go at it here. But in this one, give you the number 3 Corvette to take the win. And man, oh man, I said that LMP2 was a difficult class to pick a winner from. GTD is just as difficult. I'll tell you what though, I'm really impressed with how Stephen McAleer and Sheena Monk have kind of gelled and some of the performance that they've got out of the car since they joined forces in the middle of last year. Throw Mike Skeen into the mix as well, and that's a strong driver lineup. So with that, give me the 021 Triarsi Competizione Ferrari to take the win in GTD. Let's take a look at the point standings now, presented by P1 Web Development. If you're looking for a custom website, then look no further than P1 Web Development. You can check them out by clicking the link in the description or heading to p1webdevelopment.com. At the top of the GTP standings is the number 7 Porsche Penske Motorsports 963 with 380 points. They're ahead of the number 60 Acura, the number 6 Porsche, the number 24 BMW, with the number 10 Cadillac rounding out the top 5. In LMP2, it's number 22 United Autosports entry that leads there with 385 points. They're ahead of the number 74 Riley, the 52 PR1 Matheson Motorsports entry, the number 18 of Era Motorsports, and the number 9 AO Racing entry. In GTD Pro, it's number 65 Ford Multimatic Mustang that leads with 382 points. They're ahead of the number 3 Corvette, the 64 Ford Multimatic Motorsports Mustang, the number 1 Paul Miller Racing BMW, and the number 69 Get Speed Mercedes. And then there's GTD here. It's the number 13 AWA entry that leads with 365 points. They're just 10 points ahead of the number 120 Wright Motorsports Porsche, The number 27 Heart of Racing Aston Martin is in third, ahead of the Windward Racing Mercedes and the number 96 Turner Motorsport BMW. We're in for a full weekend of racing, and the support series kick things off with the Mustang Challenge. On Thursday, that race 1 gets underway at 1 o'clock Eastern Time on Imsa TV, Peacock, and on Imsa's YouTube channel. That's followed up at 4:50 p.m. with the Porsche Carrera Cup North America race, which is available on Imsa TV and Imsa's YouTube channel. At 5:50 p.m., it's race 1 for the Lamborghini Super Trofeo series, and you can catch that on Imsa TV, Peacock, or on Imsa's YouTube channel. Turning the calendar over to Friday, and it's the Mustang Challenge that kicks us off once again, this time at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time on Imsa TV, Peacock, and on Imsa's YouTube channel. At 11:20 a.m. Eastern Time, it'll be qualifying for the Imsa WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. You can catch that on Imsa TV, Peacock, or on Imsa's YouTube channel. The Michelin Pilot Challenge's Alan J Automotive 120 follows that up, getting underway at 2:10 p.m. Eastern Time on Imsa TV, Peacock, and on Imsa's YouTube channel. Lamborghini Super Trofeo series follows that up at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, again on Imsa TV, Peacock, and Imsa's YouTube channel. And at 6:10 p.m. Eastern Time, it's the Porsche Carrera Cup North America that wraps up Saturday with a race on Imsa TV and on Imsa's YouTube channel. On Saturday, it's the 12 Hours of Sebring, and the race gets underway at 10:10 a.m. Eastern Time, and you can catch the race on Imsa TV, Peacock, or on Imsa's YouTube channel. I'll also be hosting a watch-along for the first few hours of this race. We'll get that underway about 20 minutes before the drop of the green flag, so if you're interested in that, then come right back here to the Off in the S's YouTube channel. Hope to see you there. As I mentioned earlier in the episode, there are so many good storylines to follow along with in this year's race. I compiled the 6 biggest storylines for you to follow in this year's 12 Hours of Sebring, and you can check that out right here. Huge shout out to all the channel supporters. If you too want to support the show, you can head to patreon.com/offinthes's or click that join button below. Once again though, thanks for tuning in. I hope everyone has a great race weekend and doesn't go off in the S's.